Is the GOAT back? Should Reiner play Zerg or Toss? And can you die from eating too many spicy peppers? All of these questions will be answered in today's episode of StarCraft Today.
StarCraft Today.
Your favorite StarCraft news show. Last week 32 sweaty nerds traveled to Krefeld to eat kebabs, play with Nerf guns and play some high-level StarCraft 2 in Homestory Cup XXI. As we've already covered Group A and B in last week's StarCraft Today, we will continue on with Group C and D, which were played on day 2 of the Homestory Cup. In Group C we saw all 4 favorite advance, but perhaps not in the positions that people predicted. GSL round of 10 finisher Su, for example, just barely managed to squeeze through the cracks in 4th place, losing to Clem, Zaun and Astrea. Astrea, who by the way had one hell of a performance, taking out Zaun, Su and Clem, but weirdly losing to Nice and Mana, showing perhaps a bit of inconsistency in Protoss versus Protoss, but a fantastic level in both PvT and PvZ. Clem also managed to beat Zaun, and that led to Clem being in 1st place with a 6-1 score, Astrea in 2nd, Zaun in 3rd and Su in 4th, as those 4 players advanced on to the round of 16 bracket. Over in Group D we had more shocking results. The Valencia skipping Serral struggled in Group D, losing the first map of the tournament versus Petit Drogo, but as he managed to win that series, perhaps not the end of the world. Things really started going sour for Serral when he got destroyed by an unleashed Gumiho, who in game number 1 managed to secure the win with a double starport battlecruiser Hellion attack, and in game 2 opened up with an odd double 4 drop while playing Bio at the same time. This eventually led to a late game scenario in which the map Stargazer proved to be a bit too difficult for Serral to win on, and thus Gumiho took the 2-0. That wasn't the end of all misery for Serral, as the German Protoss Showtime also came out swinging. Showtime dominating in game 1 from start to finish with a heavy Oracle Stalker force and getting Serral to tap out while the Finnish Phenom was still up in supply. Seeing Serral leave a game while he still has a fighting chance is definitely a freak occurrence. In the second game we once again saw Showtime commit heavily into Stalkers, upgrades and Oracles. This time, however, Serral seemed to have a bit of a better grasp of the game, taking out bases, workers and even having a couple of decent fights. Eventually Serral transitioned into a more lurker-focused army and continued dishing out damage to Showtime, who struggled to get the correct army composition together. Despite his army composition lacking Storm, Showtime manages to take one hell of a fight near the gold, while at the same time taking out a base on the other side of the map as well. And after a bit more running around with Archons and Immortals and fantastic upgrades, Showtime eventually gets the win in the final fight and takes the series 2-0. Going into the final match, this now meant that Serral had to beat Creator, or the back-to-back-to-back Homestory Cup champion perhaps would be knocked out in the group stage. Luckily for Serral this didn't happen, as he managed to take out Creator with a 2-0 map score and thus got 3rd place in the group, Ryung in 4th, Showtime in 2nd and Gumiho in 1st place. This led to a weird looking bracket with people like Hero Marine, Su and Serral in the lower portion, while Spirit and Astrea, players that are usually considered a bit weaker than the aforementioned, were in the upper bracket. Now that we're talking about Astrea, let's actually take a look at his series versus Reiner, in which the American Protoss player played a funky double DT drop, doing a good job confusing Reiner and denying creep in the early game. But not only was his early game good, he also showed a fantastic level and understanding when it came to decision making in the mid and late game, allowing him to take game 1 after hitting a big push at the fort while simultaneously dropping the main. In game 2 we saw Astrea's double Stargate Phoenix completely catch Reiner off guard and with a swift follow-up push instantly, winning the game. And just like that, Reiner, the favorite of this series and perhaps even for winning the tournament, was only 1 map away from being knocked down into the losers bracket. Of course Reiner wasn't going to let that happen so easily, and we saw the Italian fight back, taking game 3 in a long late game and game 4 with a powerful lurker Hydra push after a solid early and mid game. In the final map of the best of 5 we saw Reiner take a lead into the mid game with a bunch of surprise mutas and a big Ravager Ling Bane squad. However, as the game progressed, Astrea got into better and better positions, taking many bases around the map, as well as getting fantastic upgrades for his ground units. The final blow to Reiner came in the form of 5 carriers, which Reiner wasn't quite prepared for and thus did not have sufficient anti-air forces ready. And in perhaps the biggest upset so far of the tournament, Astrea managed to take out Reiner 3-2. Moving on into the lower bracket, we saw Reiner pull out his trusty Protoss once again in this tournament against Elaser. but this time without much success, as ESL managed to win both Game 1 and Game 2 relatively easily against the Italians' Protoss play. After being down 0-2, Reiner decided to switch back to Zerg, and with Zerg managed to win both Game 3 and Game 4, once again getting to a Game 5. In that game, he got behind in the mid-game after a failed Roach Muta attack. This allowed ESL to leverage that lead and thus winning the series 3-2, knocking Reiner out of the tournament. After he lost, Reiner posted a tweet on Twitter talking about the race switching. I quote, "For everyone saying I play off race because I want to troll or want to prove something, it's absolutely not like that at all. If I did it, there's a reason, and overall I feel more confident in PvZ than ZvZ. Obviously it can go wrong, like it did today, but that's how it works. GG's. So, what do you guys think? Is Reiner Zerg better in ZvZ, or do you prefer seeing Reiner play Protoss versus Zerg? Be sure to leave it down in the comments. Continuing through the lower bracket, we saw Zaun take out Uthermal, Gumiho and ESL, while on the other side we saw Serral destroy Su, Spirit and Showtime all in a row. As Clem beat Lambo and Australia beat Neep in the upper bracket, this led to a Serral vs Neep best of 5, and holy moly did it deliver. The fun started in the third game, which, by the way, is the game of the week. Neep got a massive lead heading into the mid-game and at times was extremely close to killing Serral, but the Finnish player managed to stay in with his lurker defense and constant baneling and ling run buys. This game turned into a long late game with Infestor Broodlord Ultra Lurker Corruptor Viper on the Zerg side versus Immortal Archon Templar Tempest Carrier and of course a Mothership on the other side. And after 46 minutes of back and forth action, Neep felt forced to all-in attack into Serral with his remaining 94 army supply, allowing Serral to take the fight of a lifetime with a couple of good fungals, winning the game and keeping his hopes and dreams alive in this series. And after Serral took Game 4 as well, we witnessed something that we almost never get to see. And that was a cheesing Serral in Game 5 with his life on the line, going for a 2-base baneling bust, which went unscouted by Neep. Serral managed to win map 5 and continue on in the tournament. When asked about the bane bust, he had this to say about it.
I'm surprised that you went for this. Have you ever done something like this before? In like because especially because you're looking so dominant in the macro games. You take him out in like a 40-minute game, was very close. Then the last game, you kind of destroy him. You feel really good after the break, or at least from what we can see. And then you come out with this. I don't know. It's sometimes your mind does tricks to you. All I see is a pylon in the wall, and it angered me a little bit.
At the same time, we saw Lambo take out Zaun, and in the upper bracket, Clem took out Australia with a clean 3-0 as well. This meant that Lambo vs Serral was on the menu, and although it looked tasty on the menu and the ingredients were there, the match itself was lacking a bit of flavor, with Serral putting on a dominating performance, taking out the German Zerg with a one-sided 3-1 score. And just like that, there were only 3 left, Clem waiting in the finals for the winner of Australia vs Serral. And once again, it seemed like Serral was absolutely untouchable, despite a rough second game in which Australia managed to steal a game in what should have been an unwinnable situation for the Protoss. After that, it was smooth sailing for the Zerg, who managed to take Game 3 with a quick Queen Roach push and Game number 4 with a low eco 20-minute Lurker Viper Hydra push. The Serral vs Clem finals that followed was another dominating performance out of the Finnish Zerg, who seemed unleashed on the final day of the Homestory Cup. The first best of 5, Serral only dropped a single map to Clem, which was versus a Hellbat all-in. However, as Clem came from the upper bracket and Serral from the lower, Serral had to win another best of 3 to actually win the tournament. That seemed like no issue whatsoever, as he put on a show once again for the final 2 games and destroyed Clem in quick 2-0 fashion, winning Homestory Cup 21. Fantastic tournament to watch and absolutely brilliant tournament to be at. Congrats to Serral as well for winning, and with it all wrapped up, we actually did not have too much other StarCraft going on this week, except for the triple ESL Open Cups like we have every single week. Starting on the Sunday in Korea, where Cure managed to take out Dark in a very close 3-2 fashion, allowing Cure to win the first cup of the week. Over in Europe, we saw MaxPax win without dropping a single map in the entire tournament bracket. 2-0 versus Hero Marine in the semis and 3-0 versus Time in the finals meant that the Dane got another European Cup ESL Open win. The final cup in America saw 2 Koreans battle it out in the finals with Byeon and Dark, and for the second time in 2 days, Dark narrowly lost to a Terran as Byeon swept up the finals with a 3-2 score. Congratulations to the winner of these cups, and also a big shout out to community caster Statfast, who has now officially covered 104 ESL Open Cups in a row. It is people like you, Statfast, who make the world go round. That leads us to this week's clip of the week, where we see Dark utilize the Broodlord in the late game in a way that I don't think we've ever seen a Zerg use it before. So enjoy this piece of innovation.
Oh, he's just sacking. Is this like, can he even, is there even a number of Thors? Like, look at the Broodlings.
It's so many.
Is there even a number of Thors you can even get to? Like, he's just literally infinitely spawning them.
Yeah, he's shooting his own Broodlings. This is so smart, actually, from Dark. There's like 5 SCVs on the right side. This is so sick. He's making the Broodlords have like 50 range right now. They're getting kills. This is so sick. And he's manually attack moving them forward. Byeon. Oh, I want to know what he's saying. Somebody in the chat translate.
Holy crap. He's gonna force him.
Yeah.
He's gonna make him take a fight.
I've never seen infinite range Broodlords like this before. This is so cool.
Alright, that is going to be it for me today, but not before we ask the ever important question. Is it possible to die by eating too many peppers? Now, the Scoville scale is based on the concentration of capsaicin in a specific pepper. Pure capsaicin has 16 million heat Scoville units, while the Carolina Reaper, the spiciest pepper known to man, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, has about 1.5 million Scoville hit units. In 1980, a study was conducted which showed that 13 grams of pure capsaicin would be lethal to a 150-pound person. The study also stated that 3 pounds of extreme chilies, like the Carolina Reaper, in powdered form could potentially kill someone. However, your body most likely would interfere before you would be capable of finishing the painful task of eating so many ground up peppers. 3 pounds is quite a lot. So it probably is possible that you can die from it, but it also is extremely unlikely. Alright, that is going to be it for me today. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time for a new video. Thank you, and bye bye.